Sabrina wasn't getting along with her classmates and was isolated at school. Mr. Brown talked about Sabrina that way. But it seems the truth was a little different. In that case, maybe someone came to see Sabrina. Thinking so, I checked the home security camera. There might be boys among those who came to visit. I kept watching the footage stored in the cloud single-mindedly. And finally, I found that person. I was astonished by the unexpected person. No way. Is this Sabrina's? I was shocked in front of the computer. People lie, but security camera footage never lies. In other words, what I'm seeing is the truth. I was dumbfounded by the unbelievable reality. But at the same time, anger welled up inside me. I must absolutely not forgive this person. For Sabrina's future, I cannot overlook this. I'll make you pay for toying with Sabrina, prepare yourself. While swearing this in my heart, I copied the security camera footage to my smartphone. My name is Jacqueline. I'm 35 years old and work as a nurse at the local hospital. As many people know, being a nurse is quite a challenging job. But I believe it's all thanks to this job that I have my current happiness. In fact, I met Aaron, who is a year older than me, at the hospital where I work. Aaron, a scaffolding builder, came to the hospital after getting injured on the job, and that was how we met. An angel in white. That's what Aaron said when he saw me. I found that amusing, and that's how we started dating. A year later, we tied the knot, and then our daughter Sabrina was born. That was 11 years ago. Back then, I was very happy, but now, I'm deeply concerned about Sabrina. In fact, Sabrina has been staying home, not wanting to go out, for about a year now. What should I do? Lately, I've been wrestling with what's the right approach to help Sabrina. If only I knew why she doesn't want to go to school, maybe I could figure out a way to help her. But Sabrina isn't opening up to me at all. And, we have no idea why she doesn't want to go to school. So, for now, all we can do is wait and see what she will do. That's our current situation. However, up until a year ago, Sabrina was such a good girl. She was excelling in her studies, and in sports as well. I might not have all the details about her school life. But from what Sabrina shared, it seemed like she had a bunch of friends. Based on that, I felt everything was fine. Indeed, her homeroom teacher, Mr. Brown, even once remarked, "Sabrina is an outstanding student. She does well in both academics and sports, and her friends rely on her a lot." Mr. Brown said this during a home visit last year. I remember feeling so proud and half-jokingly said, "We have you to thank for your guidance." No, not at all. She's naturally gifted. Mr. Brown gave a wry smile. Then, Aaron, who was sitting next to me, said irritably, "Well, of course. She's my daughter, after all. His guidance has nothing to do with it." Hey! What's with that all of a sudden? Because you said it was thanks to the teacher. Aaron frowned. I sighed in disgust. Needless to say, we were just exchanging pleasantries. Sure, Sabrina might naturally be a good kid, but the guidance at school is indispensable. Knowing this, I tried to be considerate in my response. But it seemed Aaron hadn't caught on. Admittedly, Aaron is pretty impulsive. Yet, I thought he had the common sense to let it slide. Can you just keep quiet for a bit? I'll talk to the teacher. But I understand that you're proud of Sabrina, but you don't always have to speak your mind. I said it a bit more forcefully. Then, Aaron looked away with a huff. He's acting like a child. I couldn't help but feel ridiculous. Putting that aside, I apologized to Mr. Brown. I'm sorry. My husband lacks common sense. No, it's just that he cares a lot about his daughter. In the end, Mr. Brown kept smiling wryly. After Mr. Brown left, I explained everything to Aaron. It took 30 minutes from the start of my explanation for Aaron to understand our entire interaction. This tumultuous home visit happened just before Sabrina started staying home. Sometime after that, on a certain day, Sabrina wouldn't get up as usual. Aaron went to work as he always does. With my work time approaching, I called out to Sabrina. Sabrina, are you still sleeping? It's time for school. Yes. She sounded listless. Finding it strange, I continued. Are you feeling unwell? A bit. I'm coming into your room, okay? After saying that, I entered Sabrina's room. Sabrina was curled up in bed. I wondered if she might have caught a cold and asked her. Do you feel unwell? Did you catch a cold? My head hurts. Sabrina answered without showing her face. Maybe it's a cold. I thought, and touched Sabrina's forehead. She didn't seem to have a fever, but Sabrina, visible through the gap in the blankets, looked pale. It wouldn't be good to force her. Thinking this, I told Sabrina. I'll call the school and tell them you're taking the day off. Okay. Got it. I'll have Grandma come over later. After that conversation, I left Sabrina's room. Then, I called the school to let them know about her condition. Afterward, intending to ask her to watch the house in our absence, I contacted my mother-in-law. Sabrina's not feeling well, could you come over just for the daytime? All right, but I can only stay for a short while. My mother-in-law, although a homemaker, has to take care of her house and her husband. Even for her granddaughter, it seems long hours of babysitting are difficult. At that time, I thought Sabrina was just temporarily unwell. So, if we could just manage for now. That's why I asked my mother-in-law, as best as she can. True to her word, my mother-in-law came over for a few hours. She looked after Sabrina, took care of her meals, and then went back home in the evening. A few hours later, I came home. When I went to Sabrina's room, she was in her bed. Did you manage okay, Sabrina? Yes. Grandma came over. That's good. I hope you get better soon. Saying that, I left Sabrina's room. But the next day, Sabrina didn't get out of bed again. Or more accurately, she couldn't get out of bed. Somehow, Sabrina ended up not being able to go to school. Sabrina, did something happen at school? Not really. Sabrina wouldn't give me a reason. Concerned, I went to school and consulted with Mr. Brown. So, she can't get up in the morning. Oh, that's a problem. Mr. Brown frowned. Did he have any clue? As I thought this, Mr. Brown let out a deep sigh. Then, hesitantly, he began to speak. Actually, it seems Sabrina has been isolated recently. This was what Mr. Brown told me. A little while ago, during lunch break. Mr. Brown went to the classroom to get textbooks in order to prepare a quiz during the break. And noticed that while other students were happily chatting, Sabrina was sitting all by herself. Finding it unusual, Mr. Brown approached Sabrina. But Sabrina said it was nothing. However, it did concern me a bit, so I've been keeping an eye out since then. And it appears she was somewhat isolated. He subtly asked other students, but the reason was unclear. However, it seems Sabrina isn't getting along with her friends. Lately, their relationship has become particularly strained, to the point where they hardly talk at all. Mr. Brown shared such observations. There's not much I can do in this situation. Is that so? I'm sorry for the trouble. Not at all. It's my duty as her teacher. But please, keep this between us. Knowing about it might stress Sabrina further. So, he wants this matter to stay just between us here. It seemed to be the case. Convinced, I chose not to tell Sabrina about it. After Sabrina went to bed, I quietly shared this with Aaron. What? What has the teacher been doing? So he was being considerate. But he hasn't done anything, right? Isn't that neglecting his duties? Aaron got visibly upset. I hurriedly tried to calm him down. It's not like that. The teacher did ask around. But in the end, he didn't do anything, right? It might seem that way, but what can a teacher do without making things worse? If the teacher intervened too much in the kids' relationships, it could potentially make things more complicated. Explaining this to Aaron, he reluctantly agreed. All right. Let's just keep an eye on Sabrina for now. That's best. And I have a suggestion. In keeping an eye on Sabrina, I proposed one thing. It was the installation of security cameras. Since we live in a single-family home, unlike apartments, noise doesn't have a serious effect on our neighbors. Normally, this is a benefit, but when thinking about Sabrina being home alone, it becomes a disadvantage. My mother-in-law comes over during the day, but there are still a few hours when Sabrina is alone. During such times, if something were to happen, there's a chance no one would notice any noise. That's true. Having security cameras would be a good idea. Aaron quickly agreed. So, we decided to install security cameras. However, having noticeable security cameras could potentially get strange looks from the neighbors. I thought that wouldn't matter, but Aaron strongly disagreed. The reason was his job as a scaffolding builder. Indeed, there's an impression that many scaffolding builders look scary. In fact, Aaron looks intimidating. He's well-built and could appear dangerous to some. Moreover, with the addition of security cameras, it might further that impression. I don't mind how I'm perceived, but I don't want Sabrina to be thought of as the child of such a person. Because Aaron insisted, we ended up installing less conspicuous security cameras. That aside, ideally, it's better that we don't have to check the security cameras. So, Aaron and I adjusted our work schedules to spend as much time with Sabrina as possible. Of course, we asked my mother-in-law the same thing. She agreed without hesitation. Perhaps quitting my job would have been the best solution. But our household relies on both incomes, so I had to continue working. Months passed, but Sabrina showed no significant change. She still couldn't go to school and rarely left her room. However, she would talk to Aaron and me. She also responded to communications from Mr. Brown. Then, one day, before going to work, I tried talking to Sabrina. Mom's going to work, but how are you doing today? There was no response from Sabrina. Thinking something was off, I asked more sternly. Sabrina. Are you okay? Again, she didn't answer me. I hurriedly burst into Sabrina's room. There, I found Sabrina curled up in pain near the bed. Sabrina. What's wrong? Ugh, ah. Without hesitation, I called for an ambulance. Sabrina was immediately taken to the hospital. The hospital she was taken to was where I work. But there, something unthinkable was discovered. Sabrina was pregnant. When the doctor told me, I nearly collapsed. Soon after, Aaron arrived. I told Aaron about Sabrina's pregnancy. What? What are we going to do? Who's the father? Aaron lashed out at me. But there was no way I could know such a thing. After a while, when Sabrina woke up, Aaron tried to press her for answers. Thinking that was a bad idea, I chased Aaron out of the hospital room. Then, alone with Sabrina, I tried to ask her about the man involved. However, Sabrina remained silent. She never revealed the name of the partner. Keeping quiet won't solve anything. You can't possibly think of raising a child on your own. I'll be fine. I'll definitely give birth and raise the child. Give birth? You can't possibly think that's feasible. I stated the obvious. Yet, Sabrina retorted fiercely. What do you mean by that? Are you telling me to get an abortion? Of course. You're still. I absolutely refuse. I won't have an abortion. I reject it. For some reason, Sabrina was adamantly against having an abortion. I was at my wit's end. Sabrina, listen. This isn't something you can decide on your own. To my words, Sabrina huffed and turned away. This was getting nowhere. Meanwhile, Aaron was fuming in the hallway. What should I do? I sighed. Sabrina being pregnant meant she had relations with someone. But Sabrina hasn't been leaving the house lately. So, with whom and where did she? How should I report this to the school? My mind was racing with various thoughts. But thinking wasn't getting me anywhere. I decided to settle things one by one. The first thing is to report to the school. I left Aaron to stay with Sabrina and headed to the school. Unfortunately, Mr. Brown was away on a business trip. With no other choice, I ended up talking to the school nurse. I'm a school nurse, Sullivan. What brings you here today? Actually, I told Ms. Sullivan about Sabrina being pregnant. Then I asked about things at school. When it comes to a child's friendship, their classmates are often the most involved. Moreover, there are many cases where students might share things with the school nurse that they wouldn't tell their homeroom teacher. That's what I thought when I asked, but I was told something unexpected. Indeed, Sabrina does have many friends. Recently, some friends who were worried about her came to my office. Is that true? They can exchange messages, but they said they really wanted to meet her in person. At that moment, something clicked inside me. I remembered what Mr. Brown had said. Sabrina wasn't getting along with her classmates and was isolated at school. Mr. Brown talked about Sabrina that way. But it seems the truth was a little different. In that case, maybe someone came to see Sabrina. Thinking this, I checked the home security camera. There might be boys among those who came to visit. I kept watching the footage stored in the cloud single-mindedly. And finally, I found that person. I was astonished by the unexpected person. No way. Is this Sabrina's? I was shocked in front of the computer. People lie, but security camera footage never lies. In other words, what I'm seeing is the truth. I was dumbfounded by the unbelievable reality. But at the same time, anger welled up inside me. I must absolutely not forgive this person. For Sabrina's future, I cannot overlook this. I'll make you pay for toying with Sabrina, prepare yourself. While swearing this in my heart, I copied the security camera footage to my smartphone. Then, returning to Sabrina's side, I asked Aaron to step out and talked to Sabrina alone. Sabrina, just to confirm first, this is the person, right? I showed her the video on my smartphone. Sabrina's face turned red in an instant. Then, looking at me with a fierce look, Sabrina tried to snatch the smartphone. Give it to me. No. This person is the one, right? When I pressed for confirmation, Sabrina quietly nodded. I sighed deeply. The person caught on the security camera was Mr. Brown. However, Mr. Brown had also visited when I was around. A home visit for a student not attending school. That's how I perceived it. In fact, Mr. Brown only talked with Aaron and me. He only spoke to Sabrina through her room door. So, both Aaron and I had confidently welcomed Mr. Brown. But, it turns out it wasn't just a regular home visit. It was for the purpose of building a relationship with Sabrina. Moreover, Mr. Brown had chosen times when the house was empty to visit Sabrina. However, he didn't enter through the front door. He circled to the backyard and entered Sabrina's room through the window. If he went from the entrance to the room, he'd be caught on the indoor security camera. When Mr. Brown came to our house, he must have noticed the indoor security cameras. That's why he must have played such a trick to avoid being captured on camera. Either way, we hadn't noticed until now. The reason we hadn't noticed was simple. Mr. Brown entering Sabrina's room through the window had never been captured by the security camera. We had told Sabrina about the installation of the security camera. In fact, Sabrina was exploiting this knowledge. First, Sabrina hung clothes in front of the security camera mounted on the wall of her room. She used them as a cover to invite Mr. Brown into her room during that time. Of course, after Mr. Brown left, she quickly removed the clothes so it wouldn't be noticed. If the same thing happened every day or repeatedly, surely we would scold her for nullifying the purpose of the security camera. But what if it happened only occasionally, for just an hour or two? Maybe she just wanted to dry some clothes. That's how it was dismissed. Moreover, there wasn't just one security camera. If something happened, it would be caught on another camera, or so we believed. It was true we had made such assumptions. In the end, we were cleverly deceived. But their strategy wasn't perfect. Upon closer inspection of the footage, there were slips. The video I found was such a slip. When the clothes trembled, Mr. Brown was slightly visible. He was seen talking to Sabrina through the window, and then entering the room right after. It was so brief that I missed it while fast-forwarding through the footage. Since when with the teacher? Why? That's. Sabrina told me everything. In her mind, Mr. Brown was her boyfriend. I don't know what Mr. Brown thought. Still, Sabrina asserted they were dating. They started dating just before Sabrina began to be absent from school. But after being teased for talking to a teacher at school, she suddenly felt embarrassed to date him. That's why Sabrina started staying home. Worried about her, Mr. Brown visits her house. Moreover, he started visiting her at home secretly. And secretly meeting him made Sabrina think she wouldn't be teased by others. As a result, Sabrina continued to withdraw and ended up having a relationship with him at home. She also told me that Mr. Brown confessed his love for her, and that's how they started dating. An adult deceiving a child like this. Indescribable anger overflowed. Regardless, I silently listened to Sabrina's story. I shouldn't blame her unilaterally. That's what I thought. After listening to her for a while, I left the hospital room. In the hallway, I whispered to Aaron what I had heard from Sabrina. Aaron was about to raise his voice impulsively. "Hold on. This is a hospital." "Understood. But I won't forgive him." Aaron clenched his fist. I understood his feelings all too well. The next day, I told Mr. Brown to come to our house. He must have heard about Sabrina's pregnancy from the school nurse. That's what I thought, but Mr. Brown hadn't heard anything. In fact, when I called him, Mr. Brown asked back, "Is something wrong?" So, I only told him about Sabrina being hospitalized. And then, I asked him to come to our house because I wanted to talk. As soon as Mr. Brown arrived at our home, Aaron raised his voice at the sight of him. "You! What have you done to our daughter?" What do you mean? Don't play dumb when you know exactly what you did." I struggled to restrain Aaron as he tried to grab Mr. Brown. After calming him down, I informed Mr. Brown about Sabrina's pregnancy. At that moment, Mr. Brown turned pale. And immediately prostrated himself. "I am terribly sorry." "Sorry, don't cut it." Worried the neighbors might hear. I covered Aaron's mouth with my hand. "Quiet down a bit. The neighbors will hear you." "But if this turns into gossip, Sabrina will be the one who suffers." I gave Aaron a stern look. Reluctantly, Aaron bit his lip and kept quiet. From there, I decided to talk with Mr. Brown myself. First, I asked him what he thought about Sabrina. It might sound cowardly to say this, but I was serious about that. "Huh? Serious about a child? Don't you even know how old you are?" "I am aware. But..." He admitted there were parts where he went too far. But he was seriously dating Sabrina. He even considered marriage seriously. Mr. Brown shared such thoughts. But it was impossible to believe. Aaron felt the same. "Don't mess around. I'll report you to the police, so be prepared." "Please, anything but that." "Shut up. There's no way I can forgive you." Aaron raised his voice. Mr. Brown, flinching, said in a small voice, "But, for Sabrina's sake. If we truly cared for Sabrina, not escalating the situation would be better." I understood that. But it's the same as overlooking a crime. I couldn't possibly do that. Yet, what was the right thing to do? I didn't know. Let's decide after hearing Sabrina's side of the story. But her feelings matter the most. You understand, right? Aaron reluctantly nodded to my words. In the end, what to do was left undecided. I could never